Alright, so here I am. Enjoy this piece of shit, alright?
This is my review of Suicide Squad. I found the movie overall to be good.
This was me 3 years ago, and it's honestly hilarious to look back at. And embarrassing and kind of inspirational in a weird way. This video that I first put up to start off my movie reviewing YouTube channel is terrible. It's so bad. I have no sense of confidence whatsoever. I have no voice. I'm scared to voice my real opinions and badmouth a superhero movie. I was scared of being too enthusiastic, and that made me talk excruciatingly slow. And I was very, very, very inexperienced. Worst of all, I had no editing skills. The audio cuts in and out harshly from sentence to sentence, and the audio quality is just so very
something else.
Point is, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Cut to 3 years later, and I guess I'm still pretty amateurish, alright? I know there's still a lot of room for improvement. I got to get some better equipment one of these days, like some professional lighting and an honest-to-God actual good video camera, and these things will come eventually, but really what I'm solely looking at here and comparing is myself and what I can make with the tools that I've got. And man, like honestly, I'm really proud of what I've achieved and the progress that I've made in terms of camera presence, voicing my opinion, generally talking about film, and again, my editing skills. In that first clip, I'm laughably quiet.
So the first thing about this movie that will either completely sell you on it or...
But now, well, the acting, the cinematography, all that stuff, I'm at the very least out of anything audible. Speaking of audible, this video is not sponsored. Haha. In that first clip, the cuts are extremely rough and everything about it really just sucks.
And blows.
Nowadays, I feel like not everything I do sucks quite so much. So today, I wanted to do a bit of a re-review of the movie Suicide Squad. I'm going to take a look at my old video, point out why I'm probably wrong, and try to do it better. And trust me, that's not going to take a whole lot. Because it's not very good. Let's go!
This is my review of Suicide Squad. I found the movie overall to be good.
See, that's something that I'm already doing there that you can notice straight away. Like, the ends of my sentences get cut off, like, a lot because I have no editing skills. This is like the first video that I ever edited in my life, and I taught myself. I didn't really know what the hell I was doing, so I'm just like, hey, this is my I just keep cutting myself off. But also, another thing though, at the same time, I would still leave in a long gap. I would cut off the last word and then leave a long gap before I start my next sentence. So it's just like the worst of both worlds, you know? It was no good. Also, clearly, I'm very quiet and have no confidence at all. Just a terrible speaker all around.
Also very flawed. The main problem with the movie overall is definitely the editing. And what makes that even worse is that that's exactly what the problem with Batman vs Superman was as well.
So, I actually think what I meant to say here was that the issue was more to do with the pacing, more to do with the intended, actual, purposeful decisions that they made with where to spend time. It's a form of editing, it's the order that the scenes come in. It was really the big issue. But, I mean, the actual beat-for-beat scenes, like, during a scene, the editing is okay, kind of upbeat and fun and fast-paced and stuff. It's more the transitional scenes from scene to scene that is strange. They make some strange decisions in this movie, and it often feels like it doesn't really matter what order the scenes are in, other than the beginning, the middle, and the end, but everything in between could just be swapped, and like, stuff could be totally taken out. The Joker, for instance, is almost just inconsequential entirely, and it's stuff like this that really brings a movie completely down, and it starts to make you feel like you're wasting your time, because it's like, well, if that doesn't really matter, and this feels out of place, what am I doing here, you know?
The movie did the best that it could to balance all of its characters, but the fact is that there were too many. Some of the characters were rushed or not in it quite as much.
Well, that's definitely true. This whole movie is very rushed, and there's way too much in there that they're trying to make kind of compelling, but it's like you need to spend time on something to make it compelling, and they don't have the time. So it's like all just full of this half-assed stuff that's trying to be kind of, you know, heartfelt, but it really just comes off as melodramatic, and then they undercut that with mosquito. Terrible humor and just jarring character decisions. A lot of it doesn't quite flow as well as a movie should.
Others had moments to shine. Deadshot and Harley Quinn had a lot more screen time than, say, Killer Croc or Catan.
I love that. I love that I say Killer Croc or Catan. Like, who's Catan? There's a good example of shitty editing. Yeah, but that's another thing. Deadshot and Harley Quinn are definitely the most utilized characters in this movie. And another weird thing about them, actually, that I noticed while rewatching it, they introduce the two characters and then they have the title sequence. And then after the title sequence, they kind of introduce Deadshot and Harley Quinn again. And it's like, why did you do that? That was super weird. I'm thinking we're going to go over to the other characters now, but it's like, here's the same characters again. That all being said, yes, Deadshot's likable enough, I suppose. Will Smith has a certain charm to him and everything. Harley Quinn, though, not a massive fan.
Something that I really hate is the Joker. I don't know about everyone else. Some people seem to love him. I can't stand him. He seems to be a 13-year-old girl's idea of what a cool badass is.
Yeah, no, so that's completely true. I completely agree with my past self here. It's very easy to make fun of this version of the Joker. It definitely seems like they think that it's much more edgy and cool than it comes across as. He's just so strange, the way that he speaks, the decisions that he made. It just does not work quite as well as obviously they were intending. I remember when I shot this video, I was kind of scared to say anything negative about the Joker because it's like, I didn't want to shit on superhero stuff. I remember because I was like, I didn't want to damage my image of being like the movie superhero guy and stuff. Nowadays, I'm like, I don't really want to be the movie superhero guy specifically anymore. So it's kind of funny to think about that. But yeah, no, I was like, I didn't want to say anything too bad, but clearly I wasn't a massive fan and I kind of wanted to get it out lightly. But no, I will say now, yeah, no, the Joker completely sucks in this movie. And yeah, just the decisions in the appearance, the way he acts. Not necessarily Jared Leto's acting is bad, but the character decision is bad.
My main problem with the Joker is that he's too romantic, kind of. He's supposed to be abusive and really horrible, but in Suicide Squad he comes across as romantic. He cares about her, he tries to help her. I'm talking about specifically with Harley Quinn, of course.
Yeah, no, so I totally agree with this. The Joker and Harley Quinn in comics and games and whatever are supposed to have this very one-sided, terrible relationship. The Joker's meant to be totally abusive to her, and Harley Quinn to him is meant to just be side trash, nothing. He's not really thinking about her, but she totally relies on him because she's like charmed by his aura, which is kind of hard to believe when it's Jared Leto's Joker, but let's just pretend for a second that it's like Heath Ledger's Joker, who is clearly a psychopath and horrible and you don't want to be near him, but like he seems important. You want to listen to what he has to say, you know? Think about it that way and you can kind of see where somebody will get tricked into wanting to be with this guy. That's a really like complex and cool theme that they could have focused on, but instead they make the Joker actually care about her and they have like this romantic relationship and it's like you're supposed to root for them. But knowing the normal sort of structure of their relationship, it feels kind of weird to be like, yeah, go them. It just feels like a strange decision again.
And then there's something really superficial that I have a really specific problem with, and that's the Joker texting. I just find that very funny because in my mind the Joker is always timeless.
Nowadays, I kind of actually feel like the Joker, at least this iteration of the Joker, is more a parody of a modern guy thinking he's like an old-fashioned guy, but really he's just like texting. And it is kind of funny to think about the Joker like going to the phone shop, buying the phone, getting a plan and everything, actually paying for that. The actual logistics of the Joker having a phone and stuff is kind of hilarious. So I understand what I'm saying, but I didn't quite put it as well as I probably did just then.
The movie also came off as quite lazy at times. Some of the scenes just don't go together. They feel very randomly put together, just thrown in.
Yeah, well, that's basically what I was trying to say before, that it doesn't really feel like it matters what order the scenes are in. It's chucked together, it's pretty random. This isn't like a super strict, structured script.
I found myself being not sure of how important some of the scenes were supposed to be, some of the fights and stuff. And by the climax of the movie, I was just kind of like, oh, this is the part that's supposed to be important. It was a little bit unbalanced in that kind of way.
Pretty much what I'm trying to say there is that like it kind of catches you off guard when things are actually supposed to be important, when other things that are portrayed in a similar way are more inconsequential and more treated as a joke. And it's like, well, which is it? There's no difference in direction or visuals or anything to tell me, to translate, to communicate to me that the tone of this is supposed to be different. It didn't quite master the tones that it was going for. And yeah.
The movie was full of very cool visual imagery, I'll give it that. The action scenes were impressive, and that's where the movie really shines. But what really brings the movie down...
Is it though? Look, here's my big first disagree with myself here. I wouldn't quite say that the action scenes are good or impressive or anything. They are pretty generic. I mean, they're competently put together. Not being a visual effects artist, I wouldn't be able to do something as good as that personally, but I have seen a lot better in other films, so I wouldn't say that I was like largely super impressed. The visual kind of style is sort of fun though. I do understand what I mean by that, where it's like, I don't know, it's kind of got that neon dark, more fun. It takes itself a bit less seriously look, and it's kind of like, it's about the villains, you know? So it's like, it's all shot at night time, and it's all, I don't know, it all looks kind of fun, but it also looks very fake. They've got like this apocalyptic looking area that they're going through, and it kind of feels like a video game where they're totally isolated from the rest of the world, so that it feels like none of what they're doing really matters that much. And then of course by the end, it's just the villains trying to destroy the world. And yeah, no, it doesn't feel quite as real.
What really brings the movie down is the writing and the editing. Some of the jokes and lines really fell flat, didn't quite work.
Yeah, coming from Mr. Jokey Joke Maker. I totally... comedic genius. No, but seriously, no. A lot of the jokes definitely fall flat here. The humor does not quite work as well as I think it thinks it is. It's kind of half-half. Like, some of the stuff in this movie does work kind of well, even though a lot of it's sort of cringy. But, I mean, it's entertaining. This movie is kind of fun. And I didn't just dread watching every moment of it. So, it's kind of weird. Like, I remember when I was reviewing this that I remember that I wasn't the biggest fan ever of it, but I didn't want to say bad things about it because I just didn't want to be negative in my first review. And I don't know why I did Suicide Squad as my first review. I actually did. I remember I did The Conjuring 2 first, but I was embarrassed of that, and it was even worse than this, I guess. And that never saw the light of day. Suicide Squad did.
The villain and main plot were very generic, and the movie resulted in another blue laser light kind of thing in the sky, and we've seen that about 1,000 times.
Yes! Big agree.
And it really has you wondering, like, where's the Flash, where's Batman and stuff? Shouldn't they be helping?
Alright, so I think that when I shot this, when I wrote it and everything, I had read a bunch of reviews beforehand and had read that a lot of people had this issue where it's like, where are the other superheroes? Because it's like end of the world stuff, shouldn't they help and everything? But nowadays, like me now, present day, I'm like, who cares? I don't know, like, you shouldn't have to think so hard about the logistics of everything in a movie that's kind of not worth thinking about that much. This is just kind of a stupid movie. Like, I don't know. I don't really care about where the rest of the characters are. Sure, you could chuck in some sort of explanation, but it would be just as, you know, expository and stupid as anything. They could say anything. It doesn't really fix the movie. It doesn't really matter, you know?
Much of the praise of this movie is going to Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, and I'm gonna be like the first to say that I'm actually not a fan of her. I don't buy her as a crazy person. There's that moment in the trailer where she says something like, the voices are telling me to escape and kill everyone, and I just don't buy that she's a crazy person. She did an okay job, acting-wise, but I wasn't personally a fan.
Well, did she do an okay job acting-wise, or was she terrible and were we not a fan? Was it bad? Tell me! No, but honestly, I actually I know what I'm saying. I guess she wasn't that bad. She's fine, but I think that the issue is that she's totally miscast. I don't buy Margot Robbie as a crazy person, and I still don't. She just seems like a person that's acting like a crazy person. Also, something I didn't mention in this review is that every instance, every use of that character is totally sexist, and I'm not a fan of that. I guess I was probably scared of getting too controversial, so I didn't mention it then, or it didn't bother me as much back then.
I thought Will Smith's Deadshot was the best part of the movie. He was very likable and cool.
He's alright.
I found El Diablo to be very cliche. I thought that he had a lot of potential, but because of the number of the characters, his story felt very rushed.
It's not like this is the most original story ever, but the character does at least have an interesting conflict with his morals. You know, the whole thing with his family and everything. It's actually probably my favorite of the character's storylines, even though I don't think it's that special. He's actually one of the strongest suits of the movie. See, this is a movie that's full of stuff that just isn't that special or that good. It's full of some stuff that is terrible. But overall, this movie is just fine. It's just okay. It's pretty good, but it's like every aspect to it though. There's no aspects that are fantastic. There's just a lot of aspects that are good. And you know, you don't want to watch a movie that is like that. This isn't really worth rewatching.
And that brings me to Captain Boomerang, who is just a flawless blokey bloke.
Yep.
In all honesty, It actually did seem like they were trying a bit hard and they were trying to rip off other things like Deadpool. For instance, he has like a unicorn thing and it felt like the movie was trying to be so random and funny, but really it was just kind of weak.
Ah, I talk so slow and quiet. How? How could anybody watch this? Well, they didn't. I only got like... not many views. Anyway, yeah, no, Captain Boomerang is... Look, he's a fun character. You don't really have to take him too seriously. I didn't really have to critique this character too much, but I just felt like I had to go over every single character. Nowadays, I might not have. I'm not sure. But here we are. I'm reacting to it. Captain Boomerang is pretty funny. But total rip-off of Deadpool. That's pretty much exactly right. I said it pretty perfectly, to be honest. If I just said it a bit faster, anyway. The whole random thing, like, it felt like he was just trying too hard. But there's this one part of the movie, though, where he gets, where they first get recruited and he's, like, all zipped up. They let him out of the bag. He just gets out and he punches somebody straight away. It's hilarious. It's literally my favorite part of the movie.
The movie sometimes felt like it was not as cool as it thought it was, but that wasn't always a bad thing because it wasn't afraid to be a bit more fun and not take itself so seriously.
Alright, I can see that, I suppose. I do find some appreciation there where it did try to have a bit of fun, even though it was kind of just a rip-off of Guardians of the Galaxy, but still, I can appreciate that. But if that's what it wanted to do, delve into the apocalyptic story and try and end the world and have the characters save the entire world. If you want to be more small-scale and comedic, do what Thor Ragnarok later did and be more personal. Actually, I changed my mind. Thor Ragnarok tried to end the world as well. God damn it. You're making me look bad, superhero movies. Why does everybody want to end the world all the time? Suicide Squad's approach there is not exactly special.
Something that comic book movies have been doing much better lately, of being comic accurate and not being afraid to be a bit out there and more colourful.
That's total shit right there. I'd never read a Suicide Squad comic at the time. I didn't know if this was accurate. I'd read Deadpool and Spider-Man comics, maybe X-Men or something. That's all I read. I read the mainstream shit. Come on, I didn't know what Suicide Squad was before the movie came out. So full of shit right there.
In the end, the movie came off as fun but flawed. I enjoyed the movie, but it wasn't very good.
See, that's funny because that seems like a total contradiction, and I want to criticize that line because that's the dumbest thing, but I feel the same way. Like, it was entertaining enough, I kind of enjoyed myself a bit, but it's bad. It's not a very good movie, there's nothing that really grips you, but it does kind of feel like a comic book type of thing coming to life. I mean, you've got to appreciate the dumb scenes where, like, Joker and Harley Quinn are driving in their neon pink car and Batman's chasing after them. Like, it feels like a cartoon, and I can appreciate that kind of tone and approach, to be honest. I can appreciate a movie trying to have fun, I just don't think it quite hit the mark. But they're still coming out with that sequel though, and James Gunn is gonna work on it, and I keep referring to Guardians of the Galaxy and this being a rip-off of it. Maybe he's gonna save the next one, maybe, I don't know.
DC needs to get their shit together, but I'm still very much looking forward to their future projects. I'm excited about The Flash, he seems really cool so far from what we've seen.
Never came out.
And hopefully the Justice League is where DC really brings things together.
Yep, they didn't. Justice League is not where DC brought things together. I also love how I just say, hopefully Justice League is where they bring things together, because I had no editing skills whatsoever. Alright, so that was apparently the end of that video. Hopefully that did showcase a bit about how much I've improved, how much more enthusiastic I am, how much more of a voice I have nowadays. Also, do you love how I'm wearing the same t-shirt? What a coincidence. I didn't do that on purpose for the purposes of this video at all. I did. I'm wearing the same t-shirt on purpose. Anyway, yeah, so Suicide Squad is kind of fun, I guess, but it's not really worth rewatching if you've already seen it. Go watch better things. Yep, alright, like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think of Suicide Squad, I guess, or how much I've improved. Give me praise. I wouldn't mind. That is all. Goodbye. Yep, that was me 3 years ago. This is me now. Beautiful. Way better, right? Maybe. I don't know. Alright, bye.